Hey everyone, I'm Dan, and welcome back to No Cones Garage. On this episode, we're going to talk about how the car did at the 2021 Grassroots Motorsports $2,000 Challenge. Literally just unloaded the car from the trailer. It's a couple days after the challenge. The car obviously is done-ish. So this is what was ran at the challenge. It isn't obviously complete to the idea of what I had. You know, it doesn't match the renderings exactly. I ended up, you know, the work and effort required to get the car to this point just took all of my time, and I literally couldn't do anything else as far as like getting videos out, even really doing, you know, a particularly good job of documenting the build. Unfortunately, basically since the last video I took, I did not actually record that much of the progress on the car. I still have a lot of backlog from the last kind of build log video. Got a lot of video to fill in, basically from that point, suspension design, to get to the rolling status that was shown in the previous video. But from rolling status to what you see here, I just don't have that much video documenting. I took a lot of pictures. So what my plan is, I'm going to, you know, over the next couple months, try to get out the videos that will document the build details on the suspension and those things I do have. And then as I get the car, you know, coming into winter, the plan for the car is to bring it to the challenge next year in 2022 as well. And for 2022, the plan is to have it be painted, you know, have the aerodynamic details, the fenders figured out and complete, and have the car, you know, done for 2022. Overall, the event went really well. The car really didn't run until the day of the event. I started it, you know, physically started the engine. I believe it was on Saturday before, the week before the event. The event was on a Friday. I live in, you know, kind of the Midwest. So for me, it's about a 15-hour drive to get to the event. And the event started on Friday. So I had to leave my area on Wednesday, or I should have left my area on Wednesday. I ended up leaving Thursday morning at like 1:30 in the morning to drive straight through to get to the hotel. There's kind of a host hotel where everyone brings their cars the night before, and then the night, you know, after the dynamic competition before the concourse. So in order to get there on time to register, I had to leave really early. So the car, you know, I started it for the first time on Saturday. It was on the ground for the first time on Wednesday. The fenders were built on Monday. I took basically the whole week off of work to finish, you know, do some work to finish the car. And over the last month and a half, it's been really, really intense work to get the car done. I say done, but the car really wasn't done before it went down to the event. It ran, I drove it basically about 200 feet to the end of my driveway, turned it around to load it onto the trailer. Because the car, you know, being mid-engined, it has a pretty substantial rear weight bias. My trailer is kind of a single axle, and it's relatively small. It's really just big enough for the car. So I ended up loading it backwards. So it ended up getting hauled down backwards. Of course, it was in the garage forwards. Pointed out, so I had to turn it around. But that was really the extent of driving before. The car had only one seat was installed, So I brought materials to finish the second seat, and only one of the side pods was covered. So I had to bring the material to cover the other side pod. So dynamically, Friday was the actual event. So did the autocross first. Friday morning, I did an alignment on the car. Just set up some strings, made sure all four wheels were pointed roughly straight, and I jacked both ends of the car up and down, and adjusted the pull rods just so the tires touched the ground at the same time. So corner weighting I didn't really do. I didn't have access to scales, and I just really didn't have the time to do it. So that was enough to make sure that, you know, all four tires touched the ground at the same time when you lowered each end. So the wheels were roughly equally loaded. So then I went out and did autocross runs. On the first autocross run, about halfway through the lap, the car died. It turns out, so the wiring, which again I'll cover later, but the wiring I did was I stripped all of the stock Subaru harness away from the ECU and just left the ECU. The Subaru has a really complicated fuel tank management system with a lot of wires that run to various sensors that are in the fuel tank. Obviously none of those are present, and I believe one of those wires, if it grounds out, causes the engine to shut off, and I think that's what happened, because as soon as I better restrained the wires, the car started back up and ran fine for the rest of the event. One issue I was having is the car seems to be stopping at about 4,000, 4,500 RPM. I don't have a tach in the car, so I can't validate for sure that that's the case, but just, you know, going on course, second gear should be about 55, 60 miles per hour for the stock 5-speed transmission with these diameter tires, and it really was a lot slower than that. It was coming up against a rev limiter. What I found out is the alternator is not working on the car. So the battery voltage when the car was running was only about 9 volts. I'm actually surprised that it was running at all, but it would run really smooth until some RPM felt like about 4,000 based on speed, where it would just cut and sound like it was up against a rev limiter. Ran strong until then, no hesitations, no misses, just came up to that point. So I don't know if the Subaru ECU has a vehicle speed sensor that needs to be seen to let it rev higher, or if the alternator was causing the ignition coil to not be able to support spark beyond some certain RPM. But that's stuff I need to troubleshoot. Despite that issue, the car ran across really well. Cornering grip is very high. The handling's really well balanced, especially considering the setup it had. And I believe the time it ran was 7th on the autocross. And then we got to the drag race, which was at night. And I learned Hoosier R7s, particularly old takeoff ones that have been used up, are absolutely awful for drag racing. Like, just, I would have been better off taking the tires off my tow vehicle, putting them on, and trying to use them. My best time was a 15.9 at 94 miles per hour with a 3.8 second 60 foot, which is not fast. I'm not a drag racing expert, but those numbers combined indicate a car that had, you know, very poor traction off the line. I was spinning the tires almost halfway down the course, you know, halfway down the quarter mile. So definitely an area for improvement next year is get some good tires. You know, I'm going to run Hoosier A7s at all 4 corners next year, and then I might look at, if I have the budget, getting a set of drag radials, just some used drag slicks for the rear, and run a different set of bell cranks. But overall, dynamically, you know, the car was in the top, I believe, top 10. I think it was like 12th on dynamic performance, which is the combined 2 events. And then we had the concourse the next day. It did really well in the concourse. You know, overall, the car is very impressive looking. It's got a very aggressive stance. Obviously, the bodywork is terrible. Rusty, not painted, not particularly well fit, but it's a very imposing looking vehicle. This is 40 inches high, a little over 40 inches high to the top of the roll bar. So you don't really have a sense of scale, but these are 245 4017s, and it's a very wide, low car. It's just got a really good look to it. The judges appreciated the quality of workmanship of everything, beyond the body, right? The chassis, suspension, the engineering behind all that, was seen and respected by the judges. And so the car actually did really well in the concourse, and got third overall in the concourse. It tied for third with another car that was really well done as well. So when all the scores were tallied, the car ended up with 6th overall, which honestly I'm thrilled with. Given the state of finish of the car, I know there's so much more to come next year. But again, overall, could not have hoped for better for what I brought to the event this year. Given the testing I didn't have beforehand and everything, I just could not have asked for a better result than that. The people at the event, just an incredible group of people, super supportive, super encouraging of everyone's vehicles. Obviously, everyone has different skills and different abilities, but everyone comes together. Vehicles are all different levels. Some are just basically stock vehicles that people got off Facebook Marketplace 3 days before the event, and some of them are cars like this, where it's something that someone spent a year and a half, 2 years on, tweaking and building and fabricating almost everything on the car. And everyone comes together and just has a really good time, has kind of a party, family-like atmosphere. It's just a really, really good event. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. I didn't get a chance to take much video down there. Unfortunately, I'm kind of a solo operation. I didn't have support when I was there. So when it came to taking videos, I just didn't have a lot of time because the car did have a couple issues throughout the course of the day. That kept me fairly busy. And so I just really didn't have time to get camera set up and do any of that stuff. So hopefully next year I'll be able to have some people come with me, and we can get a little better videos of the car. But I'll leave you with the video I took of the onboard of the car. It's a pretty exciting car to drive. The handling's it's definitely mid-engined, but it's relatively neutral. I had sometimes, I'd say, mild understeer, but it would oversteer. If you coaxed it into it, any kind of trail braking would get a nice amount of oversteer, and on throttle, you'd have oversteer. So for me, the car is very controllable. You could control oversteer, understeer, and it just responded very quickly to inputs, and really, again, for absolutely no setup, for just being a complete out-of-the-box suspension, I was able to push the car harder than I probably expected to or should have, but it reacted really well, and was really just a joy to drive and really fun. So I'm hopeful to get it out to a couple events, probably not before the end of the year, but very early next year, get it out to some events and get some opportunities to take some more videos, and just kind of show the performance of the car, maybe get some other people in the car, and get their thoughts on it as well. So despite getting 6th, I did come home with a couple trophies. So I got Rookie of the Year, which is just for the highest placing rookie. So this was my first challenge. So 6th place was the highest rookie. I got Best Engineered, which is one I'm really proud of. They looked at all the cars and felt that the work that went into this vehicle reflects the most consideration of engineering principles, and just shows a car that's has the most engineering thought put into it. So I was really honored to receive that award. And then the one I'm most proud of is the one in the middle, the Challenger's Choice. So that award is given by the challengers themselves. We all voted for our favorite car, and I was really honored to have received that award. So I thank all my competitors for seeing my vision in the car, and for seeing it and liking it, and thinking that it was in their eyes the best vehicle there. And I really hope to live up to their expectation they've set and what they've seen in it next year, and bring a car that's even more impressive. So again, as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming along on the venture. And I hope to, get out some more videos and give you some more information on how the car build went moving forward. So enjoy the ride along.